Imagine, if you will, you are 5 years old, walking through the grocery store with your mother and brother, and you come across someone who looks like me. Scary, isn't it? Well, that's something that just happened today. Hi, I'm Dawn, and this is my video for May 7th for Multiple Chemical Sensitivity Awareness Month. And in case you're keeping track, yes, it's the 7th day of the month, but I have missed 3 videos. That is an indication of just how much this condition can affect an individual, even with the best of intentions. So, just came from the grocery store and changed and got cleaned up somewhat because I was out and was exposed to the chemicals that are a part of everyday life for the majority of people who live in this world, who don't have to think about the chemicals that are in the air everywhere. So, yes, I was at the grocery store. I was picking up a few items for dinner and going to make a cheesecake for my husband's birthday tomorrow. And I came across this young mother with her 2 children. Her son looked to be about 7 or 8, and her daughter looked about maybe 5. And as I walked past them, I heard, "That girl looks creepy." And of course, the mother was horrified because she knew I could hear. And she was embarrassed that her child would say something like that about another individual, especially in a way that they could be heard. Now, I have to commend the mother that she did want to make sure that she corrected her child. I took it upon myself to turn around and say, "That's okay." And I squatted down and I made sure I got down on the little girl's level. I was like, "Would you like to know why I look creepy?" I was like, "I look creepy, and I know I look creepy." Because the mother was, she was trying to assure me, "Oh, no, it's okay. I'll talk to her later." But the mother didn't know either. So, again, with this being MCS Awareness Month, how could I not take the opportunity to spread a little bit of awareness? So I shared with the little girl, I was like, "I wear my mask that does make me look creepy so that I don't get sick whenever I'm somewhere that has perfumes or people's laundry detergent that they clean their clothing with, or a lot of other chemicals that are in the air that you may not be able to smell that can make me sick." And the mother was like, "Oh, wow." I was like, "I have a condition that's called multiple chemical sensitivity again, with this being an awareness." I informed her that this was actually MCS Awareness Month. And she was like, "Well, her daughter had just been exposed for the first time about 2 weeks ago to someone else who had a disability. She was exposed to someone who had no legs." So she was explaining that her daughter was just being hit by different kinds of disabilities all at one time. I was like, "That's perfectly fine. I understand." And I took the time to talk to the mother for a few minutes, as well as the little girl, staying on her level. Because again, I knew I looked creepy, and if you're 5 years old, adults can be a little creepy anyway, because they are twice your size in height, and I'm not a thin individual, so I was probably about 3 times her width, at least. So I discussed it with the mother a little bit, and I was like, the average woman in America is usually exposed to at least 5,000 chemicals on a daily basis. And she said, "Wow." I was like, "Yeah, well, think about it. You have your personal care products. the word fragrance in products can hide up to 300 different types of chemicals. They don't have to release what those chemicals are due to proprietary reasons, so that nobody else steals their secret formulas. And so there are your shampoos, your conditioners, your deodorants, your lotions, your laundry detergent and fabric softener, and a whole horde of other types of chemicals in your makeup. Well, this woman, she was a very conscientious person. She was there buying organic foods. And she was like, well, I'm very, very concerned about chemicals. That's why we eat organic. I was like, well, I know that you have heard the saying, if you can't read it, don't eat it. And she nodded because, of course, she had a cart full of organic vegetables and fruits, all sorts of high-priced foods that may or may not sometimes be as safe as people think. Again, because things that come from certain countries don't follow the same standards. And I'm sure that she was probably going to be going to the farmer's market tomorrow, which is when our farmer's market opens in this area. So, I could tell that she really was a conscientious individual. She homeschools her children to make sure that they get the best education that she can provide for them. I was like, well, think about it. If you can't read it, should you put it on your skin? Because your skin is the largest organ in the human body. So chemicals, even if you're not inhaling it, like, I couldn't due to my mask, I still limit my time outside of my home because I'm absorbing chemicals through my skin. And so it was a nice little brief chat there in the grocery store. And I know that she walked away with more information that she was going to think about. And I let her know, and I'll let the little girl and the little boy know, if you see someone that you think looks creepy because they're wearing a mask, or they have a disability where maybe their arm isn't there, or, like the little girl had seen a couple weeks ago, someone had no legs. I was like, the best thing to do is just walk up to that person and ask, why do you look creepy? Because I'd much rather have a child taught to ask than stare. And I know that this mother would have taken her daughter home and would have given her a good stern little talking to about how we try to be respectful to people. And like I said, I commend her for that. And I know that this was a horrifying thing because as I told her, kids are very honest. Adults maybe not so much. But it is better to go ahead and give someone who is questioning why someone may be different with knowledge instead of how to avoid staring because you don't know. And that can be applied to many types of disabilities. I have friends who have no legs or have deformed limbs or other disabilities. And for the most part, there are no absolutes for any disability because everybody is different. But for the most part, I believe I can say that for at least the individuals that I know, we would much rather inform someone than them walk away and making up their own stories in their head about why we may look the way we do or act the way we do. Information is always, always better than ignorance. And that is the prime reason behind various awareness months and campaigns to help bring such awareness out for conditions that are not as well known as many others. April was Autism Awareness Month. My son has autism. He is high functioning, but he does have autism. And throughout the entire month, there were a lot of campaigns nationwide, even locally, for the awareness of autism. And while many people may not be aware of the very fine details, there's very few people who haven't heard of autism. My husband has epilepsy. There is a month for epilepsy awareness. Again, even if you may not be personally affected by epilepsy and know the minor details of the fact that there are thousands of different types of seizures and hundreds of medications that may or may not work for someone and different kinds of surgeries, you've at least heard of epilepsy. I could go on and on with others. Cancer awareness. Who among us are not aware of cancer? Most of us have a friend, family, a loved one of some kind who has been personally touched by cancer. Many of us have someone who is touched by chemical sensitivities, even if they're not diagnosed. But they're not aware of multiple chemical sensitivity. They may not even realize that some of their headaches are because of their coworker's perfume, or some of their rashes maybe because of the lotion that they use, or they may think that, well, this is just normal. So they slowly start trying to work around some of the minor reactions that they may have without ever really connecting it. That's the purpose of this month. And people like me who are trying to bring awareness to this country, this world, about the pollution that we are being affected by, whether it be through the air that we breathe, the water that we drink, shower in, try to swim in, the foods that we eat, the products that we put on our skin. It is a very slow process, because even though scientists themselves began to become aware of environmental illnesses caused by some of the perks of modern society here in the industrialized world in the early 20th century, here we are in the 21st, and if you were to walk up and ask someone, what is MCS on the street? If you ask them, do you know what multiple chemical sensitivity is? You will be very hard pressed to find someone who's heard of it. You will be very hard pressed to find someone who understands what it means to the individuals who are affected by this condition. So today's video obviously has been about bringing awareness. For those of you who have this condition, because I do know that there are some people who are watching these videos from some of the support groups that I'm in, let me encourage you to step outside your comfort zone. I know when we go out in public, we're embarrassed because we are wearing our masks, or we are trying to go in and out as fast as possible so we don't have to wear a mask, so that our reactions may be lesser to an extent than they may have been But if you find someone that is staring, whether it be an adult or a child, take it upon yourself to spread awareness this month. Not only for you, but for everyone else that can't bring themselves to do it. For everyone else who may not even be able to leave their home at all anymore because of this condition. Yes, most of us are doing the best we can to not become hermits. But there are some with our condition that have no choice. There are some who have not left their homes in years. There are some who have not seen someone outside of their immediate family in years because they cannot leave their home and they cannot have people visit them because they are just too sensitive. This is something that needs attention brought to it. Contact your local news stations. I know I have. I have contacted every news station, every newspaper, every radio station in a 100-mile radius. Yet none of them, as of yet, have contacted me back or have run their own stories about this condition because they don't feel that this is something that is newsworthy. How the detriment of life and its quality to those who are afflicted by this condition is not newsworthy, I would say is beyond me, but I understand that they are probably all concerned about their profit margins. Because if you listen to 5 minutes worth of commercials, except for possibly lawyer advertisements for being able to consult with them after having a wreck or some other reason that you may need a lawyer for disability or divorce, many others, or even class action lawsuits. With those exceptions, most, if not all, of the rest of their commercials in a 5-minute time frame will link back to chemicals in some way. Whether it be a pharmaceutical ad, ads for various foods that are highly processed, that are loaded with chemicals. And if people were aware of the dangers of those chemicals, they're afraid they would lose their customer base. They're already losing quite a few of their customers because one really positive thing about millennials is that they are becoming more concerned about what they buy, which is just making it where the companies are having to try a little harder to draw them in. I read that fabric softener companies are losing because millennials just don't see as much of a reason to buy their product as maybe their parents did, which is a big win for those who can't be around fabric softener. But there are other chemicals out there that are replacing the ones that are losing money. So that would be a big reason why news stations and organizations are not pursuing this story. So it is up to us, the people who are affected by MCS, to reach out and tell people what this condition is for each of us, because all of us are different. All of us react slightly different than someone else. And all of us have a different tolerance level. Some people are still able to work with accommodations. And like I said, there are some people who haven't been able to leave their home in years. So, my challenge to you is to spread awareness. For those of you who are trying to learn about MCS, I applaud your efforts. And I encourage you to try to learn more. Reach out to those who may have this condition and ask them questions that you may have. No one is an expert. Even those of us who have the condition, we are just kind of learning as we go, because there are no experts in this. There are many who have been able to find out what works for them, but it may not work for someone else, because again, we all have different tolerance levels. I hope that there can be a day where this condition is not so hidden. But for now, those who do have this condition, for the most part, we're not out in public very often. So when you are, do what you can this month, if no other time. Get a badge that says I have MCS. Ask me about it. Write it on your mask if you have a little disposable mask. Or set up your own YouTube channel. Chronologize what your life is like on a daily basis. It couldn't hurt. So, I guess that'll be it for today. I hope to be back tomorrow, but as you've seen, it's hit or miss. Perhaps I'll even try to hit up another video later this evening, since I may not know what tomorrow will bring. But to be honest, I don't know what this afternoon will bring. So, until the next time, my name is Dawn. I have MCS. This is my video for MCS Awareness Month. I am but one face of multiple chemical sensitivity, but I am one face of many.